Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. So unfortunately, in the last episode, I found out that I got the bad ending for Weiss's loyalty mission, where she does not return from Michglas, and so obviously that that really sucked. And because in this playthrough, I want people who are watching to experience the full canonical playthrough where we win in the end. So I didn't want to just continue on a playthrough that would lose Weiss, and so that would eventually cost us the good ending. So I took some time and I went back all the way back to when we first met Weiss, and I tried to redo my dialogue options. And every interaction with Weiss, I was super extra careful, and I think on this playthrough that I'm on right now that we're on the path to keep her, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, so this is right after she has been infected by the flying Grimm that's been spreading the plague. And so, let's dive right back in. I turn my attention inward and reach for Crescent, drawing on her power. To my relief, there's a responding echo in the land. I try to grasp that too, and in a heartbeat, I'm flooded with energy. Crescent laughs, a note of pride about her. That's the way, little Rose. Now set your hands over Sershni's wounds. Opening my eyes, I find Weiss lit by a soft pinkish light, then realize the lights are coming from me. That's it. Between my fingers, I see the black pitch shrivel to nothing, and Weiss's flesh and skin knit itself back together, until the only sign of any harm are the gaping holes in her armor. Okay, so we did something differently now, because in the last episode, while the wound heals, there's still like black ooze and mixing in with the blood. So at least in this playthrough, the wound is completely healed, at least when you look at it from the outside. The light fades and I slump. Ruby? I'm fine, just sleep sounds really, really good right now. Pushing a few stray locks out of my face, I gradually catch my breath before turning my attention to Weiss. I'm still sensing some taint. I've managed to deal with the worst of it, but I can't heal her entirely. Why? She may be here, on this plane, but she's not entirely mine. I don't get it. There's the distinct sensation of a sigh. Don't mind it, then. The important thing now is getting her to Myrtenaster. The portal to Michglas? Yes. There, we can remove what remains. There's something odd about her reply, but I think twice about asking further. Like she said, there's something more important right now. Then let's go. Now! I look to Glinda, who crosses her arms with a cold, stolid expression. Rose, I must stay here and tend to the other wounded. It's obvious Sershni is beyond my aid in any case. Looking around, I see Lancelin hurrying toward us, and I rise to meet them. I need help, please. It's Weiss. Lancelin nods, bending down and carrying Weiss in both arms without another question. I don't even pause to explain to the rest where we are going, getting on my mount and tearing away with Lancelin not far behind. We ride hard. No one gets much rest when we finally stop for sleep, the moon hanging above our heads. Weiss, how are you feeling? Better, Your Majesty, thank you. Forgive me for sitting in your presence. You should be resting, you know? I settle down next to her on her bedroll, if only to make it a little easier on her neck. I am rested, better than I thought I would be. I give her a look. Better than expected isn't that much better, Weiss. She shakes her head, drawing one hand up to her chest. I know I should be worse. I've seen it, you know? So many people would be lost to fever at this point. There's a chance for me, isn't there? Yes. Crescent said if we got you home, it's best for you. She, didn't really say how it would help, though. I worry at my lip, thinking she might take issue with that, but she only nods. I do feel like something's calling me, in the direction we've been going. She smiles wryly. I suppose it could be homesickness, but that's an alien sensation to me. You don't miss Michglas? I miss my sister. That's surprising. You never talk about her. Because I'm needed here. I want to be here. Everything else would just be a distraction. A guarded look rises on her face, her nerves betrayed by the tension clinging to her jaw. We're both silent for a long moment, and I try to think of what to say. Eventually, I reach out, laying my hand on hers. Her eyes widen, but she doesn't brush it off, letting me leave it there while I speak. I talked to Lancelin when you were away patrolling. Avoiding you mean. Yes. There's no shame in what you did on the roof, Weiss. I wasn't myself, and you had to act in response. Oh, and we've worked things out, me and Crescent, so you won't have to worry about having to do that again. You talked to it? Her. I talked to her, yeah. So the matter is resolved, you say. It's a work in progress. So please, can't we try and work this out? This thing between you and me? Amusement flicks across her face before fading to solemnity. Even if you say that, Your Majesty, my plane's ways aren't easily forgotten. We have to remember our places. You put them aside for Lancelin. You don't ask them to lower themselves to the other knights. Of course not, but this and that, they're two different things. She trails off, eyes falling to the space between us. Alright, so obviously this is the wrong option, scold her. We went with teasing Weiss in the last one. And that didn't appear to help at all. So maybe we have to go with the flirty option? I mean, I feel like I've been sinking a lot of my time and my sincerity towards Penny, so maybe one flirty option won't, like, disrupt all of that. We'll find out. Weiss, I don't want you to just bow your head for me. I need people who will look at me straight on and tell me what I need to know. I want you, Weiss. I want you to be one of these people. Please, stand beside me. To my surprise, she grabs her sword from her side and presents it to me, not missing the implication. I say the first words that come to mind. Is this going to blow up in my face again? No, first of all, that was Agravain's idea. The exploding hilt? I would have never guessed. Yes, he was insufferably smug about its successful use. Second of all, this is a new hilt. I'm unable to resist teasing. With a new inlay of dust. Well, yes. But look, it's not going to activate. So are you going to accept it, or will you refuse? Laughing quietly, I wrap my hand around the hilt. I swear an oath to be loyal to you. A knight of Michglas no longer, but yours. Weiss needs me to help her sheath her sword, too weak to bear its weight any longer. All the excitement leaves her drained again, and her grip on my hand goes a little slack. Please don't leave, Ruby. You've given me so much, I dare not ask for more. But please, stay until I fall asleep. I'm not going anywhere. She murmurs her thanks and then crawls a little closer, resting her head on my lap. Stroking a hand through her hair, I stay with her until it's time for us to move on. Okay, the moment of truth where we escort her back to her home plane of Michglas. The next day, we arrive at the minor portals. Weiss is riding with me, still a little pale, but she insists on dismounting by herself before looking expectantly towards me. Crescent? She'll have to journey over and be healed by her sister. That should suffice. I relay this to Weiss, who nods and heads to Mertnaster along with Lancelin. The knight supports her with an arm around her waist, and together they limp through the portal. Readying myself to run after them, I go stumbling down to hands and knees as Crescent Rose bears down on me. No! I collapse onto my hands and knees, knocked breathless. Not yet. Not until Myrtonaster's intentions towards us are made clear. Come on, Crescent. Is now really the time? We can't trust the other spirits, Ruby. But we especially can't trust Myrtonaster. Whatever her intent, she can't be worse than the spirit who murdered my parents. Let me through. I said I'd stay with her. I'm not letting her go alone. Again, I feel incredible resistance, like someone dragging me physically back from the portal. Crescent doesn't take full control of my body, not like last time, but she comes very close. Myrtonaster may very well be the one who did it. You have to understand, Lunafracta wasn't always our enemy. It's been so long, alliances might have changed once more. And Myrtonaster never liked me to begin with. So why not attack me when I went through before I was connected to you? I was weaker then. And so was she. Her awakening was linked with mine. Please, Ruby, just once. Just trust me. I'm trying to keep you safe. I'm left alone, hands empty. Exhaustion hits me suddenly. On trembling knees, I slowly sink down onto the ground and sit in front of the portal, awaiting her return. For the next few days, I wait. Since I refuse to return to the castle, my court comes to me. Hey, how you feeling? Hearing a familiar voice makes me perk up. Getting up from my seat, I stretch and turn around to wave at Ren and Nora. Tired. They tried to set me up with a room, but I can't rest easy when the portal is out of my sight. You shouldn't worry so much. That was a good healing you did, especially for your first try. Pity it drains you so much, though. No one else's healing magic is nearly as effective. Maybe when we fix all the ley lines, that will give Crescent enough power to draw on to purge everyone? Nora shakes her head, her certainty surprising me. Magic of that scale would be incredibly dangerous. You can only handle so much at one time before it starts hurting you. Practice should make it easier, but in the end, there's a limit. What if I only did one person at a time? Maybe, but if you healed one person, others would want to be healed right away, and with the current situation, it'd be an endless line that never grows any shorter. I'm sorry. The noise and light of someone returning through the portal catches our attention, and I hasten to stand up as they approach. At first, I can't see who it is, framed by the light behind them. Yeah, we did it! We did it! Then Weiss steps through fully, her spine straight and her expression intense, but she's walking on her own, and her eyes are bright and clear. I don't see any hint of Grimm infection on her. She's back! Yay! Weiss! I nearly kick up the dirt behind me as I half sprint, half fly into her. Surprised, she catches me with both arms around my waist. Oof, Your Majesty. I thought we'd have to wait weeks. What happened over there? My sister was waiting for me. Said she felt the urge to come inspect the portals. Her spirit, Myrtonaster, told her, you think? A strange look takes over her face as Weiss grows more pale than ever. For a long stretch of time, I wait uncomfortably for her to speak. Is everything okay? Everything is fine. My injuries were attended to. But there's something different about her now, a light in her eyes that shines brighter than before. I can feel something more just underneath her skin. Did she merge with Myrtonaster? Are you connected to Myrtonaster now? I ask in a whisper, my hand on her chest plate. Her lips thin, and I can see suddenly that she's struggling to speak. Can you not talk about it? Weiss lets out a huff of frustration. I can talk. Then her lips press together again. Her eyes go wide, pleading with me for help. She's being controlled right now. She's gagged. What? Myrtonaster, that mute swan, she won't let her humans talk about her. Weiss just glares at the ground, looking bitter and angry. Gently, I tilt her gaze back up to me. It's fine, Weiss. You don't need to fight against it. You don't need to say anything. The stiff set of her shoulders relax, and she takes a huge breath. Ruby, I'm so sorry. I can't. That doesn't matter. What matters is you're here with me now. Closing my eyes, I hug her as hard as I can. I'm so glad you're okay. Weiss hugs me back, strong arms anchoring me. As if some lowly Grimm could keep your knight from you. Her good mood is infectious, and I can't help but smile. The heaviness dwelling inside my chest melts down to nothing. Weiss lets me go, stepping back to snap a salute. In any case, I'm at your service, Ruby. She falters a bit, hand dropping to cover her chest as she coughs. Though I may not be at full capacity for a while yet. She's fine. She's alive. Questions bounce around in my head about Weiss's sister, about Myrtenaster, and whether they might be able to help us. But right then, the sight of Weiss alive and well muffles them all. I can ask about all that later. There's only one thing important right now. I extend my hand to her, smile growing even wider when she meets me partway. Her grip is reassuringly firm. Weiss, let's go home. Alright, so we did see some blushes on both of their faces. So hopefully I didn't push this into a path where it just like negates everything that I've put towards ending up with Penny, but as I said, we'll see. You know, it's a work in progress. 1 week after the incident with Weiss, I am called to the throne room. They bring in a table and roll out a map. My kingdom stretches out under my hands. One by one, they start marking out communities under my protection, noting which have fallen to the Grimm and which still stand strong. I can see the Grimm eating away at my borders, leaving ruined homes in their wake. It's getting worse, isn't it? I'm afraid so. We think we found out why so many people are falling ill. Glinda drops a cloth sack on top of the table. Black seeds come spilling out, looking burnt and covered in slick oil. I take one, rolling it between my fingers. It smells foul. My stomach churns just touching the rotten thing. Okay, what am I looking at? Rye, or what was rye? Turning the seed over in my hand, I notice the telltale white sheen of Grimm bone. Are the Grimm infecting like the crops? A shudder of revulsion rolls through me as I drop the seed, letting it roll off the table. This is what I could salvage. The farmers burnt most of the evidence. I shudder again, furiously wiping my hand off on my lap. Good. We should burn these too. Not until Oobleck and Blake have a look at them. I guess that's fair. It is why we keep them around. That's not the only reason we keep them. Glinda plucks a scaly, antenna-looking segmented thing from the bag. It takes me a moment to realize it's a stalk of wheat. Disgusting. Half the harvest is completely unusable. She spits a dark curse under her breath, and a globe of fire appears near her fingertips. Glinda. The warning is clear in his voice. After a moment, Glinda begrudgingly puts the fire out before she can destroy the stalk. So, the Grimm disease is in the soil somehow? Oh god, or maybe the water. How could this happen? Why? We don't know how. As for why... If our suspicions about Crescent Rose are correct, this is the next phase of attack from her enemies. I feel sick down to the pit of my stomach. Leaning forward, I rest my elbows on the table, head in my hands. I bet it's that winged Grimm, the one that infected Weiss. If it can do the same thing to the land. I slam a fist down onto the table, rattling the seeds. My face is red hot, torn between shame and rage. I should have killed that thing when I had the chance. Might I suggest something? Ozpin and I both tense up, eyes focusing on the middle distance. You heard that too? Ozpin just nods, his mouth a thin-lipped line. The ley lines under our control are at half potential. We can try to restore them to their former glory, or we can tap into a wellspring of power that hasn't dried up yet. Meaning, the desert remains untouched. It would be easier to create new ley lines rather than struggle to maintain ones that are half broken, and she pauses. Her power flows through me, reaching out into the land. My eyes are drawn down to the map, to the western desert I called my home. In an instant, I can feel sand between my fingers, the taste of salt on my tongue. There is darkness in the desert. New ley lines will put that area under my control, my protection. Ozpin shakes his head. He looks rattled, the time he spent as Crescent's conduit haunting him. It's more complicated than that. The desert tribes have never officially been a part of the kingdom. I'm not sure how they would react to you binding their land to your throne. It would give Crescent more power, but they could take it as an invasion. Almost leaping out of my skin, I turn to find Blake materializing from the shadows. It takes a few seconds for my heart to stop racing. I'm glad to see her, especially after everything that happened, but I'll never get used to her doing that. How long have you been there? Instead of answering, Blake flashes me a reassuring smile. Then she points at the map, first tapping the southern forest under our control and moving over to the desert. Ley lines give the throne control over the land itself. A Rose Monarch using that connection. Well, we could go pore over some recent history books to know what your family does. But I wouldn't do that. Yes, but we can't say the same for whoever attunes to Crescent after you. Do we have time for all this hand-wringing? The Grimm are a real threat. If Crescent Rose needs the ley lines, there's no choice but to use them. So we'll just nicely ask the tribes for permission? The room goes silent as everyone turns to look at me. What? The Xiaolong helped raise me, and the Grimm are a threat to them too. Especially if they're poisoning the land. On a fast horse, a messenger. No, it has to be me. They know me. They'll listen to me. My words are followed by silence as the others glance from me to the map. Maybe. I can see them all trying to come up with a better plan, one that doesn't put me in danger. Thing is, there isn't one. I head for the stables without any further delay, dressed in my old traveling clothes. I'm halfway through saddling one of the faster horses when I hear a familiar voice. I bet it's Yang. Yeah, it is. Hey, the princess shouldn't be saddling her own steed. Patting the beast on the flank, I turn to face Yang. She has Ember and Chelika near her, holding onto both of their reins with one hand. I'm the queen, Yang. My voice sounds flat to my ears. There's no real chastisement in it, and I'm not in the mood for jokes either. You just got back from patrol? She nods. Ships passing in the night, I guess. Where you headed? Ozpin and Crescent want me to check out the points where the ley lines end. You mean near the desert? I open my mouth to answer, then close it. I'm not sure what to say. For the past week, Yang has spent more time outside the castle than in it. Any time not spent on patrol, she's been in the menagerie, helping Blake and Velvet rebuild. The attack on our city hit them pretty hard, and the fires damaged a lot of buildings. I've been making sure the menagerie gets as much attention as every other section of Beacon. Yang only ever enters the castle grounds to visit Weiss, to check on how she's recovering, and try to tease the knights into a better mood. Since she obviously doesn't want to see me, I figure the decent thing to do is respect her space. Now that she's here... I have a feeling that this is the beginning of maybe Yang's loyalty mission? Perhaps. We've done Blake and Weiss, and now heading back to the desert. Of course, that is where Yang is from, so this has to be the loyalty mission. So, choosing "it doesn't concern you" just comes off as rude, and that doesn't help our situation. Your coming to might be a bit forceful. What if we just ask her? Maybe that's the right choice. Yeah. Want to come with me? Yang watches me, scanning my face. I'm not sure what she sees there, but after a moment, a small smile crosses her face. Alright, but you're gonna need a real mount. Still smiling, she holds Ember's reins out to me, waiting for me to take them. It's a small gesture, but my throat tightens all the same. Everyone else is ready by the time I ride out of the stables. It's a smaller group than I'd like. Only a few of us are in shape to go after the past few weeks, and I don't want to bring any castle guards. Too many soldiers makes us look threatening. Blake is still busy helping with the reconstruction. I can't pull her away from the menagerie in good conscience, even for something like this. And as much as she tries to hide it, Weiss still hasn't fully recovered from the Grimm poison. She tires easily. She won't ever admit it, but I don't think she can handle a couple days on horseback. However, I won't be completely alone. Ah, Pyrrha! I hope I'm not late. I turn in time to see Pyrrha ride up, expertly bringing her steed to a halt. I haven't really seen the desert yet. If you don't mind, I'd love an excuse to get out of the city. Great! I can't wait to show you where I grew up. And Penny's coming too, right? Oh my god, yes, 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 yes. I haven't seen her in such a long time. Yes, I'm travel ready. It will be most interesting to see how the desert affects my ties to Crescent Rose. Spurring our mounts forward, our party turns and rides out towards the desert. Alright, so it's Yang, Pyrrha, and Penny. Interesting combination. It is a long ride to the Xiaolong camp. The desert stretches for miles in every direction, baking beneath the sun. I turn my head up, sighing when I feel the sun warm my face. Enjoying yourself? I don't have time to, I'm not sure. I miss this. Yeah, there's just something more comfortable about riding dragonback. No offense to your palace stables, but nothing compares to a real dragon. I can hear the pride in her voice as she scratches Chelika's neck ruffles. She's not wrong, although I can think of a few mares that could give Ember a run for her money. But there's more to it than that. This feels right, in a way a lot of things haven't recently. Riding through the desert, with Yang at my side. I miss this. Pyrrha rides close behind us, a white burnoose wrapped around her armor, eyes wide and bright as she stares around at the shifting dunes. Is it always like this? The sand shifting? It almost looks like waves. It kinda is. We should show you sandboarding while we're here. Get a long flat board and you can sled it like you would in the mountains. Behind us, Penny's lagging behind. I fall back to talk to her while Yang rides on ahead. Are you doing alright? Oh, yes. Her presence isn't as strong here. It takes me a second to realize what she means. Now that you mention it, I haven't spoken to Crescent once since I got here. She pauses, eyes distant as she stares across the sand. Then she blinks, her mouth snapping into a wide smile. This is exciting. I can feel what it is like with a Crescent Rose, and I get to see her home. Before I know it, the Xiaolong camp rides out of the dunes. I click my tongue and Chelika rushes forward, putting me in the lead, searching for Taiyang's tent. I think she's as happy to be back as Yang is. Once in the camp, Yang starts chattering away. Maybe it's that she's finally home, or being around her tribe again, but she can barely keep from bouncing out of the saddle. She just keeps talking, babbling, either about her patrols, the guards, or her adventures in the city. She finishes one topic just to start the next one. Can you be quiet for 10 minutes? Ugh. It's nice to hear your voice. Whoa there, Chatterbox. Trying to come off as respectful. Maybe this one? It's nice to hear your voice. I live down the hall from you. You can hear it anytime you like. Yeah, but we've spoken more in the past 12 hours than we have all month. Ah, right. She changes the subject abruptly. Oh my god, we have to visit the oasis while we're here. I don't think I brought clothes suitable for the water. Who said we have to wear anything? Oh god, Yang! Kidding! She can just borrow my things. Or perhaps just watch from the shore. So you like to watch, huh? Oh my god. Pyrrha rolls her eyes, but she's smiling. Maybe after we find Dad, we can. I trail off as a tall blonde man with deep violet eyes steps out from one of the tents. Dad! The first thing I want to do is run across the tent and hug him, but something makes me waver. Tai? Dad! Yang moves towards him, following me, until her father stops us both with an uplifted hand. Not you. He points at Yang. This is a meeting between clan leaders, Yang. Stay outside and wait for your queen. Intense red eyes meet mine, and in an instant I realize something important. I'm not here as the girl he raised. I'm here as a visiting monarch. Looking lost, Yang's attention swivels between me and her father. Without another word, he enters his tent, waiting for me. Outside Taeyang's tent, she carefully pats my shoulder, trying to be reassuring. Sorry, Yang. This is so awkward. Don't worry, Dad still cares about you. I care about you too. Aww. So, you should probably get in there. I agree with her under my breath before ducking into Taeyang's tent. It's unusually dark, Taeyang seated on the floor. A low table rests between us, a map of the desert stretched over it. So, how are you, Tai? How's the leg? He pats his knee, a ripple of ugly scars cover it, slashed all the way up to his thigh. Been better. Have a seat. I sit, feeling uncomfortable. Do you know why I'm here? I can hazard a guess. You want to extend the ley lines out into the desert and assimilate the tribes into your kingdom. The previous monarchs wanted the same thing. So you know about Crescent Rose. Of course, I was a court member once, too. Why didn't you tell me about Crescent? Do you think it's a good idea? We need the ley lines. Maybe try to go for a middle ground? Do you think it's a good idea? Tell me your honest opinion. Do you think it's a good idea to set down the ley lines in the desert? That depends on a lot of things. The first ley lines took a long time to build. Suppose I agree. What difference will this truly make? Ozpin has updated the techniques in his studies. With some of Uncle Crow's old notes, we... Oh, that dusty old crow. Is he happy, roosting back in the palace? He's not in Beacon. That night he dropped me off with you was the last time anybody saw him. Taeyang falls quiet, disconcerted. That's strange. He always wanted to be wherever you were. Not the strangest thing that's happened in the last year. How much do you know about Crescent Rose? That it is a terrifying power linked to your bloodline, and your parents used it sparingly. Keep him in the dark, or tell him the truth. We have to be honest with him, from one leader to the next. It's more complicated than that. The power, Crescent Rose, it's sentient. I pause, waiting for Crescent herself to come and correct my use of pronouns. However, she remains distressingly quiet. I can only sense her when I strain, seeking her out in the heart of my kingdom. She's distant, coiled up, laying in wait for my return. Keep talking. Slowly, I unravel the whole story, everything that has happened to me since I left the village. Taeyong listens without comment, red eyes piercing and inscrutable. He's being so cold. Why won't he say anything? I find myself going on a tangent and try to wrap it up. It's been so much, happening so fast, and to my shame, my eyes start burning with unshed tears. I duck my head down, trying to keep my voice from trembling. I just don't know what to do, Dad. I don't know what the right choice is. My shoulders shake. So much is resting on me, and I don't know what to do. I roughly wipe at my eyes, unable to speak as the tears start flowing. I know how pathetic this must look, how I failed at handling this negotiation like an adult. But I can't handle seeing him like this. He and Yang are both treating me like a stranger. I can't take it anymore. I never wanted this. Taeyong moves so fast I don't have time to react. He grabs me by the upper arm, pulling me closer as he gets up to his knees. He hugs me, arms squeezing me tight. Tai? Hey, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I try wiping at my face, but it's hard. The thin table between us has me arched uncomfortably in his arms. Don't be. You're back here with me. It's okay. Far from comforting me, it somehow just makes me cry even harder. Aw, Ruby, come on. You've always been the tough one. Where'd this big crybaby come from? I laugh, wetly, pulling back to try and dry my eyes again. Under my robes, I clutch the good luck medallion, rubbing my thumb over the smooth glass. I'm the tough one? Taeyong lowers his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, winking at me. Don't tell Yang. No longer quite so overwhelmed, I take a deep breath and try to start again. There are ways to break the new ley lines, so if I step out of bounds, you can fight back. Same goes for anyone who rules after us in our names. Explain. The ley lines we're building in the desert aren't as powerful as the ancient ones. It won't allow me the same kind of control that I hold elsewhere in Vale. So why bother with them? I need all the boost I can get. He sits back, eyes narrowing in thought. You've made your case, Queen. Go and leave me to deliberate with the other leaders. He waves me aside, dismissing me. Even if I want to stay longer, there's no more room for discussion. After bowing respectfully to him, forehead to the floor, I leave. Taeyong doesn't talk to me for the rest of the day. I want to spend more time with the friends who came with me on the trip, but I'm too distracted. Every time someone speaks to me, I mumble back one-syllable responses and find a way to avoid the topic. Sleep is as hard to come by as ever. It's because of Crescent. She bothering you? Yang is sprawled out on her sleeping mat, both of us in the same tent we had shared for years. But now it feels a little cramped. I start pacing. No, she's absolutely quiet. Isn't that a good thing? I actually kind of miss her, or it's worrying. I think we're gonna go with this one, maybe, see what happens. I actually kind of miss her. Yang's eyebrows both rise, but otherwise her expression doesn't change. I know how that sounds, but she's not so bad. She didn't make the greatest first impression. She was scared and alone, I think. It's a little different now. Crescent isn't so bad once you get to know her. I've just become used to having her around. And she helped me realize something. Lying down on my own sleeping roll, I prop up my head in one hand, resting an elbow on the ground. Yang. You never call me your sister anymore. Why? Her eyes widen fractionally. I don't? No, not even once. Weird. She turns her back on me, facing the wall. Guess I never noticed. I did. She looks like she might just drop it, refuse to comment. I even start to doubt myself, wondering if I had been wrong. But the very day we left, Yang called me sister once, and then never again. Well, good night. Oh, come on. Really? You're really just going to leave it like this? What do you want me to say? Yang grumbles under her breath, running her fingers through her hair. It isn't fair to either of us if you just keep avoiding this conversation the way you've been avoiding me. If you don't want to stay with me anymore... She twitches, almost sitting up. It's not that. So why? Well, it's obvious why, isn't it? She rests her head on the floor, back still turned to me. You and I were never sisters. I just thought that, even with everything else going on, I could at least be a constant, someone you could rely on. But I guess it's just no use trying to keep up the act. It's not fooling anyone who looks at us. You're right, we're not sisters. You know, sometimes family isn't by blood, but it's by the people you love. And so, she is my sister. Yang, you are my sister. More than ever, I have to stay by your side, and I need you at mine. Yang sits up with a grimace. What could you possibly need someone like me for? Scrambling over to Yang's side of the tent, I kneel down next to the bedroll. With hands on both her shoulders, I shake her. I need my best friend back. Yang's face falls. Struck silent, she lowers her gaze to the floor. I wish I had more to say. I honestly don't know what I expected would come of this. 2 days later, Taeyong gives me his answer. You have our permission. Build the ley lines. That's good news. But I'm dumbfounded. The answer is so readily given that I have no idea how to respond until Yang starts nudging me in the ribs. Oh, thank you, Taeyong. I'll do my best to be deserving of what you've just entrusted me with. Looking around us at the camp, I take stock of the changes. Watchtowers and fences, all of it cleverly built to be folded up and transported at a moment's notice. Taeyong catches my examinations and fixes me with a serious look. It's much more dangerous where you live, isn't it? A bit. You could say we're a beacon for trouble. Oh my god. Yang groans and rolls her eyes, saddling up a dragon for me. I figured. That's why I'm sending my daughter back with you. Taeyong rests a large hand on top of my head, shaking me fondly. There's no one else I can count on to protect you. Sure, that's what he says. Yang hefts a heavy saddle onto Celica. Making a face, she drapes herself over her dragon and sticks her tongue out at Taeyong. He's just glad I'll be out of his hair again. Are we pretending you didn't leap at the chance to leave the desert? What can I say? I'm a free spirit. She helps me up into the saddle, keeping a hand on my knee. But I'll stay here if you want me to, Ruby. No, why would we want that? Her jaw works, the words coming out stiff and awkward. I cover her hand with mine and give it a squeeze. Why would I want to go anywhere without you? Trying to play it cool, Yang pulls free and swings into her saddle. Good point. That kingdom would probably be a heap of smoking rubble without me. Clucking her tongue, she winks and heads out. Hey! Celica's head twists to and fro. I'm torn between Taeyong and my rapidly retreating Queen's Guard, trotting away into the desert. You can't just... We haven't even... We need to say goodbye to Tai. You'd better go catch her, Ruby. Limping closer, Taeyong gives Celica a sharp smack on her rump. Hissing at him, Celica tosses her head once before taking off, chasing her sister back home. Alright, so this is a great place to take a break, I think. In this episode, we managed to get Weiss back from Michglas. She's recovered from her poison wounds, for the most part. We negotiated with Taeyang and agreeing to build the ley lines in the desert, and Yang has come back to us in terms of trust. So all seems good for the time being. Things are getting really crazy right now as the game approaches its final chapters. And before I end things, I just really want to thank Em and Chrissy for leaving your comments and letting me know that I had actually made a mistake, because without you guys commenting, I would have just continued and then gotten the bad ending. And maybe in another future playthrough I would try to replay the game several times to see what kinds of different endings I can get and post them onto YouTube for other people to see, if they prefer that. But in terms of my first playthrough, I wanted to make sure everything flowed smoothly, and so that wouldn't have happened without you guys. So once again, thank you very much for letting me know. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all on the next episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. Until then.
You so fucking precious when you smile. Yeah. Girl, I lose myself up in those eyes.